Hello, we are back at the very normal time of 12 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. The dust continues to settle on a mad season, a mad week. To pick the bones out of it with me, welcome back, Jake Robson. Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Back to our old time, wasn't it?
Tuesdays.
The OG spot.
Why's James got the pink lettering, colouring around the Echo of Glory? I don't know. Maybe it's as close to the Europa League orange. Ah, there you go. Where's the cap, man?
It's at home.
Okay, well, got new caps.
I know, look at this.
New caps with a new branding for the season. Echo of Glory, little logo. Spurs cockerel on a heart. Echo of Glory on the back. We've got some Echo of Glory T-shirts.
We're moving into legacy logos.
Yeah, legacy logos. If it's good enough for Tottenham Hotspur, it's good enough for an Echo of Glory. So Jake will be wearing one of those next season. Go on to echoofglory.com, I think, or find us on our socials. Go to the shop, buy some Echo of Glory merch. Also joining us, once again, Adam Nathan. Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good.
You said to me last time you're definitely not all right, pre-final. Are you happy that I'm now all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell now. Now, I was going to say, I do always win a trophy in between my third and fourth podcast appearance. So, that's now written in stone.
You did say that. Good morning to those on the socials. Duke says, thank you for all your content over the season. You're welcome. Ryan, I agree with Duke. This pod has been like therapy. Well,
that could go one or two ways, I suppose.
That could go one or two ways. A couple of bits from Stephen Bruton will come to Craig Silver, who I bumped into on the parade. 220,000 people, and I bumped into Craig Silver. Hello to you. Stephen, having a little discussion about the appreciation lap on Sunday. We'll come to all of those little things. John Lovell listening in Namibia on holiday.
Ah, Johnny.
Look at that.
Look at this.
Look at that.
You thought no one would be listening this time?
Well, maybe 2 o'clock has maybe opened up the window for other time zones.
Different window.
Yeah.
Different window.
Different window.
Listening in Namibia. Well done, son.
And good morning to Yidvids too. Stephen, don't worry, mate. You're not on a down, and we'll come to that. Little snippet on the parade. But what a week! Talking of parades, what a week it's been. Jake and Adam, you weren't on post Bilbao. Where'd you watch it? How are you feeling? How did you feel?
I was in the stadium.
You were in the stadium.
It was amazing. I don't know how else to describe it. I guess I would say if I couldn't have been in Bilbao, it would for me. I know everyone's got their preferences. For me, would have been the next best place. And it was fantastic. And the best thing about it, one of the best things about it, was the atmosphere on the street before. Unbelievable. I've never seen it like that. Like roadblock, fans singing, jumping around, probably an hour before the game started. Do we see that often? No, we don't, do we? I was like, hold on, have I seen this before? No. And then when we walked in to the South Stand, it was like before the Bodo Glimt game, people hanging off the walls. And I was like, can we not do this more often? Why does
we'll get to cup finals? Yes, please.
No, but not cup finals. Why can't the atmosphere be like this? You know, in Europe, in some of the stadiums, I'm sure it's like that. And then I suddenly remembered that Burnley at home isn't quite the same as the Europa League final. But no, the final was watching it in the stadium was brilliant. Fantastic atmosphere. You could obviously drink during the game. The police were a little bit more lenient with bottles, drinks that you could bring on.
Is it like a Notting Hill carnival when they're dancing?
Well, they come to no, almost. There was a kid up on the bus stop, you know, just baiting the crowd.
That was our very own Jake Sanders, probably, if you've seen some of the photos.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Jake was, it was just a great atmosphere. It was fantastic. The screens worked well, because obviously there was worry that wasn't there that they
weren't going to have them.
As it was, actually, I was sat quite far back in the South Stand. That the closest screen was the one in the corner, but they had them on the pitch.
So that was great.
It was great.
You were not in the stadium. You were in another stadium.
In a stadium.
You were in a stadium. How was that?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The whole day. You never want to say it, right, when it's a big game, but there was a feeling that...
A lot of people have said that.
You can come across wise after the fact, but there were enough people thinking it without wanting to say it out loud that there was a feeling about that game. I said to my mates it felt quite similar to the Conte 3-0 derby against Arsenal, where for the whole day, people were there early at White Hart Lane that day. We were there from 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was just this crescendo of atmosphere and just a fervour building. And you say about why isn't it like that every game? I actually quite like the fact that with English fans, you do get this feeling that some games just feel
That's true.
bigger, and it does carry you through. And it was just amazing. I mean, the concourses 2 hours before kickoff were people were just thumping the walls and singing and bouncing. Like there was just a feeling that something special was going to happen, and it was magic. Like it was just absolutely brilliant. You know, a number of reasons that I'm sure we'll go on to, but just what an experience and what a privilege to have been there to see them get it done.
Yeah, obviously, I've said before I had FOMO, but I went to the parade on Friday. Took my son out of school early. About 10 minutes after getting an email that his what's the word I'm looking for? Attendance was below the 96% line that it should be. I dragged him out of school an hour early to get into the parade. And that was amazing. A lot of standing around, but it's weird because they take ages to come. You're like, oh my God, you can't even see them. And they come and before you know it, they've gone past you.
Where were you stood?
Outside the shop.
Ah.
And it was wonderful. And you see those images, like Gary said, we've been brought up on the images of 84 and Graham Roberts, but also of that bus in 61. I think when they won the double,
They had the flowers.
They
on
had
this
the
bus,
flowers on the
which was really
front,
nice.
which obviously, if you know your history, you've seen that before. And it was just wonderful. It's been a wonderful week, and we all have to drink it in. And we've talked about, will we ever have that? You know, we might go and win a FA Cup next year. I don't think it will be the same for a very, very long time. If we go 17 years again, it probably will be. But hopefully we become serial winners. But I don't think we'll ever have that release again.
Yeah, I mean, twofold for me. Firstly, the amount of scar tissue we managed to shake off with this win was what made it feel so great. I mean, as much as we all wanted to win, I felt like we all needed to win this one just because, how long can you keep doing this for? You can't keep going to big games and losing and experiencing and watching other people be happy at your expense. And the other thing for me is that my group of mates that I went with, the next final, it's likely that most of them will want to take their kids with them. And, you know, our dads that all went there, maybe they're not going to be at the next European final for whatever reason. And it just felt like...
Well, they'll be dead.
Well, hopefully. I wasn't
only
actually
one
going to
reason,
go
to be honest.
quite...
Seeing as,
I wasn't going quite that on the nose, but that is a way that you could put it. I was going to say that maybe not fit enough to travel.
okay, yes, okay.
Maybe not make the plane, but you know, if you want to go straight to that, then that's fine. And it just felt like for my group, and I think a lot of people that were there, it felt like everyone was celebrating with the people they've always done it with. And for this chapter of Spurs fandom in our lives, we just needed that one great day, and we had it. Like I've wanted it for 10 years to sort of have another day with my dad in the stadium, celebrating and cheering, and it was just the most magical thing. And I don't want to feel greedy and say I need it again. It would be lovely, but I feel satiated to a point now that I had the
That
day that I
moment.
wanted.
Yeah.
As a man who works in catering, satiated.
I don't even know what it means.
Full.
Full.
So
Okay.
basically,
do
that's
you go
what it
around
means.
saying, "Are you satiated? Would you like some more?"
I don't know, ask him.
Yeah. All right, Adam Flanagan, as he says, he got into the stadium, a constant chant of Bilbao. We're on our way, still walking
Yeah.
around singing it.
It was mad.
My son's still singing Johnson or Ole, and still didn't score.
I had about 10 rounds of Can't Smile Without You this morning, just in the car. It was great. Loved it.
I have done every single. I think I've completed the internet. Last night on the way to work, I was actually fortunate enough to be working with Paul Robinson last night, and I put on Radio 5's coverage of injury time. Well, I went to the goal, then I did injury time and post-match, and it was Ian Dennis who made a brilliant comment. He said the heaviest trophy, someone went up to get it, the heaviest trophy in world football, which apparently it is, the heaviest trophy in world football, but the weight is lifted from Tottenham Hotspur.
Very good.
That's great.
Very good.
So I thought that was wonderful, and I mean, it's not name drop, it's Ian Dennis, he's a great commentator, but I texted him this morning saying that was wonderful. And he sort of said, I'm just so pleased for you and Spurs fans that the weight has been lifted.
I do feel people are more pleased for Spurs fans than they would have let on otherwise. Like there are the Arsenal fans, but there are a lot of fans that you speak to. I've had messages from people that they know that we properly have been through the ringer. And it does feel like the general football community, like we are with Crystal Palace, Newcastle to a point where the ownership is a bit muddy with that. But in general, when proper fans get a day, there does feel like the football community comes
It's why I wanted
together.
Sunderland to come up, because Sheffield United have done it. Sunderland, it's your turn again. Like I said last week on the show, I had messages from Newcastle fans and fans from even United fans, but fans from all other clubs saying, well done.
Apart from one.
Well, I did get a few Arsenal fans message.
I did, and they weren't well done.
Okay, well, fair. I know better people than you. And I just felt like if I'd supported United, I never would have got those messages. I think people understood what it meant.
Yeah.
All right.
And if they didn't, seeing the parade really made them understand.
On that, we're massive. I did like the TalkSport. I don't know if you saw the joke. Someone rang up, an Arsenal fan rang up TalkSport, and they were discussing how far are Arsenal away from a trophy. And a Spurs fan rang up the next call and said, I want to just respond to the Arsenal fan who asked how far they are from a major trophy, and the answer's 4 miles,
Down the road,
which I thought was wonderful. Okay, so we did the Bilbao stuff last week. I wanted to get your memories of that. But we do have to talk about other things. I mean, the club news is we remain Europa League winners, but we have lost 22 games. We did lose our 22nd league game of the season on Sunday, and obviously Twitter's gone into, I wouldn't say meltdown, but it's kicking off again with the Ange in, the Ange out.
Didn't take long.
It didn't take long. It didn't take long. You're
Literally
right.
took 4
and some people
days.
say, can we leave it a week before we start talking about this? But we're going to talk about it. But I do want to take you all the way back to sort of July, August. I don't know where you're on holiday. Benidorm, you probably.
Me.
Marbs, wherever you were on holiday last year or whatever. What were your expectations, if you can go back without hindsight, for the season?
Without remembering it specifically, I imagine you always want to progress, right? So 5th for me, and we could have come 4th last year. I think I probably thought that there's an opportunity to come in the top 3, perhaps. I don't think anyone expected Liverpool to be as strong as they were.
Yeah.
So that might have been a team that losing Klopp. You don't know if they're going to go through any transition. Maybe you're thinking they might drop out of the top 5. As it happens, incredible, they won the league. But I think I probably thought 4th or 3rd would be the target, which I suppose is a Champions League spot and not much else. And we kind of ended up in the roundaboutest of ways getting there with a nice big silver pot. That doesn't mean that expectations have been met, because I don't think we've progressed at all on the pitch, unfortunately. But I think that would have been my expectations going forward, to probably be in the top 4.
So if I'd said to you, we're going to finish 17th, lose 22 league games and win the Europa League, you'd have probably called me balmy. But would you have gone, do you know what? You'd have looked at where the final was and gone, if I'm celebrating in Bilbao, I won't care. I
think that the trophy drought had gone on for so long that I'd started to guard myself against the importance of winning trophies. And I think I've always been, hands up, been quite a big, Levy proponent until maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep,
I thought I could see the vision of what the club wanted to do. And in my mind, gradual annual progression is the best barometer of where a club's going, and trophies are inherently random. That's definitely what I thought. And I've written it 100 times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Having experienced the joys of winning the trophy, we had a brief chat earlier. Would you take 17th and winning the Champions League next year? 100%.
I'd want my season ticket money back.
Yeah, of course. And it completely flies in the face of what I said on this show last week.
Yeah.
That, bad season regardless of what's happened. But having experienced the high of what we got to do last week, I think, I definitely guarded myself, because I just couldn't see us ever doing it, of thinking, well, it can't be that good to win a trophy. But I'm exhausted still.
Yeah. Jake, expectations?
I was just looking. I couldn't find. I did a table at the beginning of the season, and I can't remember where I had us, but I think I had us in 4th. I definitely didn't have us higher. But the thing is, I think we've gone into the Europa League and Europe Europa League especially in years gone by, or when did it even become the Europa League?
09.
Yeah, okay. So Europa League then, in seasons gone by, and I've always thought we've got a chance, and
we've never been favourites.
No. But as in, you look at it and go, well, we're in the Europa League. We were quite good in the Premier League. We were
got a
5th or whatever.
Yeah,
we've got a chance.
Yeah.
And then we either don't make it out the group, or we get to the knockout stages as we did, and we just blow it basically. So I always thought this season, again, we've got a chance. I didn't realise we were favourites at the very beginning.
But what were your expectations for the league?
Oh, for the league?
Well, as well. No,
yeah, I thought we'd challenge for the top 4. And I always say there's a difference between finishing top 4 and challenging. And especially now, with there being 6 or 7 teams, maybe even 8 teams. If you think of United and Tottenham, there's probably now 4 places for 8 teams. So I thought we'd be in the mix. And I thought that maybe but that was on the assumption that we'd probably not win the Europa League.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought we'd be 4th or 5th, definitely.
It's interesting. Well, Christopher Hall has done a Gary Diamond and has already booked his hotel for Budapest. As I said a few times, a guy at work, Billy and his brother, booked their tickets, their flights to Udine. I don't think. Well, we've got to talk about Ange. Like we have to talk about Ange. I know people say, "Can you give it a rest?" It's only it's only been 5 days since we won the trophy, but this is our last chance to have that chat on this podcast. So we're going to do it today. 22 league defeats, the most of any team in top flight history in England not to be relegated. That's some record to have. Thankfully, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton were bloody awful. You can believe that we, as Ange said, we phoned it in since January. Not sure I believe that. I think it's a convenient excuse. We had 9 defeats already, I think, at that point come January, and lost to Ipswich and Palace with pretty strong teams. Palace who hadn't won a game all season. Ipswich, had they won a game? They certainly hadn't won away, I don't think. So, there are excuses, there are mitigating circumstances. Of course there are. There is always that shiny trophy to point to. Have you flip-flapped? I was Ange in for about 24 hours. and I've been fairly consistent about my thoughts on Ange. He will forever be a hero, a legend, build a statue, all of that. Absolutely. It's a concern for me that if he stays, we have problems. If he stays and he fixes it, wonderful. Really great, he can stay. It's more of a... It's not like a staunch Ange out. It's more of a concern that I can't ignore the 22 defeats. So I was very much Ange in actually for 24 hours. And then it kind of, that's my emotion, the dopamine hit. When I started to think about it again, I was like, do you know what? I just don't know. We're not going to win the Champions League next year. We win the FA Cup, the League Cup, great. I just don't know if I can go through another season watching us like that in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I said before the final that he should go regardless. And then the final happened, and I find myself really being dragged the other way. But I'm probably going to make for unremarkable broadcasting because I just don't know what I want right now.
On that, do you think some people have said it should have been as simple for the club, win and stay, lose and go?
No, I don't think, because I'm still sitting here and I feel like I've got sort of the 2 angels on each shoulder. And one of them pipes up. Angel of Death, I think. And one of them's piping up saying, Ange in, and the other one flies and saying, you idiot, what are you talking about? And then the other one comes in, Ange, what are you talking about? So I'm really stuck in this, between the ultimate rock and a hard place, just not understanding what I want. And it's so difficult. And it doesn't make for great broadcasting to not have a staunch view either way. But the one thing that's dragging me towards being Ange in, and it's very hypothetical and it's very sort of emotional, is that he said what he was going to do and he did it. And you don't have to say in September, I'm going to win a trophy. But to have the bollocks to do that and then do it, I have a huge amount of respect for. And on Sunday, he said, next year, this is what's going to happen.
What did he say is going to happen?
Well, he said we're going to compete in the Champions League. We're going to be much higher in the league. Okay. And I don't know, I just feel like even if you want him out, I think he deserves the respect to being taken at his word again. And it goes completely against what I thought for all season, that get out, go regardless. But I'm a bit of the Pacino sort of, just when I thought I was out, he pulls me back in.
Jake, I think you're further down the Ange in road. Is that right?
A little bit. I think if he lost though, he gone. Yeah, end of.
But
I think you're saying the same. And if
is it as simple as is it easy just to sit and go, well, because he won he should stay?
I think Adam is spot on. If he doesn't win it, then he hasn't delivered on what he said he would do. So then he has to go. He wins it. He is just,
you have to trust him more.
You have to trust him on it now. I mean, he's built. I think that in itself means that he has proven that he's good to his word. And I know it's not the same as keeping a promise, because ultimately you're much more in control, really, keeping a promise. If you want to tell someone your secret, you just tell them. Whereas to get somebody to win a football match is a bit trickier than just keep, if you see what I mean. But yeah, if this is what he said is going to happen next season, he's built up enough credit for winning the Europa League. I think that we have to go along with it.
My concern, I think...
And then cry in November when they fire him.
Well, this is it, and someone's made this point, and Stephen Bruton, I think Lordy said it, give him maybe till October, November, and Stephen Bruton's made the point that I've been making. If you do give him to October, November, and we have a 2 points to make game situation, or however many that may be, the concern is there's no one. probably, if you've got targets, whoever they may be, they're probably attainable now. Some maybe not. Glasner, they've won the FA Cup. He may be out of that now, but you certainly ain't getting Glasner in October. So there's some frustration on social media today that the club haven't made a decision yet. We all want to know, of course we do. We're all impatient now, especially in the social media age. We want results today. We want answers today, or even yesterday. They're obviously not going to make a snap decision, because I think they might. If they were going to sack him, I think they probably would have done it now. Do you think this is something that has to happen quickly? And the more it goes on, you think the more likely it is.
Hold on, are we expecting, if he stays, are we expecting a statement of
I think
the club?
I think
there'll have to be something.
Do you think there'll be a statement, or more of an Ornstein or Romano will say Ange is staying?
Do you think
that?
I don't think the
do you think we'll actually have a
club
club statement?
No.
But
he's under contract, so there's no need to.
So you'll get word from journos,
unless they give him a new contract, which they might. He's only on a 1+1 right now, so he might.
He's got 1 year left,
+1 option
in our favour.
Yeah, so I think the club might want to do right by him and say, because you don't want. I mean, this is so Ten Hag that it really is, because they gave him a new contract as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think that's less likely, because then if they have to fire him in November, they've got to pay him more.
Yeah.
And if he has another shit season, they can just part ways at the end of the season. Potentially,
I think if he has a good season, or even we're having a good season, he may get a new contract.
Oh yeah, that's different. I don't think they give him one now, though. Is that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think one thing, and I guess the more I say, the more Ange and I come across, but I'm probably trying to play the other side of it just in case.
It's so Ange.
The mistake United made, for me, the biggest mistake, is appointing a manager who plays a completely different style to the previous one, who they signed players
mid-season,
for. Mid-season. That's just a mad thing to do in hindsight. What I would hope is that there must be planning in place. If they have got a guy like Paratici come in, he's missed the phone book, he will have numbers and people lined up. And what you hope is that whatever the structure of the summer is, it's done with the view that we sign players to play a shape that Ange plays, and any manager that they might want to tap up afterwards plays the same shape that Ange plays.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily need... Well, you probably wouldn't do that mid-season anyway, but you don't need to deviate so massively from the plan. You're just sort of bringing someone else in, because the manager should be as dispensable as anyone, really, if the system is right and the structure's right and the players are right. If you can get the right person in as a motivator, but everything else sort of stays the same, I think you can mitigate some of the issues that a team like United have had.
Look at Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Chelsea all those years. They just used to bring in a new guy and he'd win them a trophy.
Yeah.
Playing more or less, not the same
well, they would chuck a few quid at it.
They wouldn't go from back 4 to back 3 and, wide wingers. You try and keep some level of continuity, because the club should play the way the club plays.
Yeah. The Tottenham way.
You mentioned Paratici. This is absolutely based on nothing, just my own theory. I feel that Paratici would probably want to move Ange on. I just feel
this is what people are saying. I don't know where this comes from.
I feel that Paratici would think he could get someone better in his eyes, a more experienced European manager. I'm not saying he doesn't respect Ange. Basically, it's just my own theory.
Even if that's true, who would that be?
I don't know.
Who's out there? Who are these?
Well, he's big mates with Inzaghi.
If he can drag Inzaghi on Sunday morning, I don't think anyone, even the most staunch Ange lover, is going to quibble too much with that.
But if it... Invert the ting, which is a great name. We've laughed at that before. Paratici would get Gattuso. I don't think he would now. If it's 1-on-1, Levy v Paratici, who has the final say? Probably Levy. And for that reason, this is why I think Ange will probably stay, because I think Levy is grateful. I think they have a decent relationship. I just think he is going to stay. But
this is where football's not as black and white as that, because people like to say if it's one against the other. Paratici's not coming back to that job if he doesn't want Ange and Ange is staying. How does that work?
I wonder whether Paratici did he think we weren't going to win anything, and he's dealing with a club that have just finished.
But he's not back yet, is he?
No, not officially.
He's not coming back if he doesn't want to work with the manager. There's no way that works. If he comes back, he's comfortable knowing that Ange is...
Yeah, that's true.
So
we'll know. They know he's gone regardless.
Or they know he's gone regardless. Or he'll just be there kicking him out the door.
We'll ask the question, Johnny, who do you blame for the league season, manager or squad? Now, it's quite lucky we've not got Ollie Spira on the show today, because we'd have 20 minutes on Daniel Levy. I don't think we did enough in the summer. I don't think we signed enough adults. We signed Solanke and some really good kids. Fine. We probably needed more experienced players. But, as I've repeatedly said, this squad whether you believe they phoned it in since January or not, should not be.
On that, do you not
Hang on,
believe
hang on. They
did?
should not be 17th with 38 points. They just shouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely not.
If this team finished
Definitely
10th,
not.
if this team finished 10th,
but no
11th,
one's saying they should.
but even if they finished
Ange.
12th or 10th, if they finished 10th with
Yeah.
15 to 20 more
Then
points,
there'd be no question.
I'd have gone, okay,
Yeah.
you probably did have your eye on that.
Yeah.
But you can have your eye on something and still win the Europa League. For
Yeah.
still not finish 17th in the Premier League and win the Europa League. No team has ever won a European trophy and been so bad, quite frankly.
No, but I think the problem, it's obvious to say, but and I know you'll roll your eyes, but with the injuries, it got to the point where
I rolled my eyes.
you couldn't do, if you're going to have that many injuries, you had no option. But to put, I mean, we saw the changes he'd make. Fulham away, I was there working, 9 changes.
But he's still asking Davies and Dragoson to stand on the halfway line at Anfield and whatever. That, for
Yeah,
me,
I know. That's the weird thing. Are we going to see, if he stays, are we going to see some of this Europa League setup in the Premier League?
You've got Ange Ball.
Because if you knew that we were, you'd say then he should stay.
There's Ange Ball, which has kind of gone out the window, and there's Ange Wall, which won the Europa
Ball.
League. He needs to find the happy medium.
And what
between
about Ange
both.
balls to the wall?
They might be in a week's time. I think we have to find the happy medium. Do you trust he can do that? That's the big.
Not
that's
can,
the big
will. Because of course he can do
Can
it.
he?
Will he?
Can he?
Well, yeah, we saw it.
What did we see? No, he's got to find the medium.
The medium.
The
Yeah, I
medium.
mean, sure. What's the what does that look like in a match for you in terms of?
I feel like the first 10 games, I felt like we were defensively sound.
Oh,
yeah, we're standing. Maybe we weren't.
It was
Not
two-
too-
it was
yeah,
mo-
it was a
I
bit
think we
chaotic.
It was
Yeah.
two holders because Sarr and Basuma played very much as a two.
Yeah.
Yes. But
if he said to
okay,
me,
on
I'm not
that,
gonna invert the
when
fullbacks.
Bergvall is fit,
Yeah.
how does that work? Because he's not a holder. So how does he get in the side along with one of Madison, maybe Madison in the 10?
Yeah.
Then where do you go?
I still think you can have defensive principles or defensive
Yeah.
mindset even if you're an
But
attacking
he's not
player.
a Bissouma or Bentancur substitute, as it were. If you're
I think
playing,
he could do that job quite easily.
but he hasn't been. In the
Well, I mean, Madison did say in the Europa League they were training him to be a 6.
right.
Right.
Madison did an interview, I think, after the Alkmaar game, and he said that they were surprised by how physical Bergvall was, and they were training him. And the second half of the Arsenal game, he played as a number 6 by himself away
did?
at the Emirates from memory.
Who?
So Bergvall.
He did.
He
Yes.
did, yeah.
It was like a 4-1-4-1
That was
with
a
this
mess.
18-year-old just
Yeah,
shoved out there.
yeah.
I mean, I would almost want Ange to have to like reapply for his own job and do an interview. I would hope that when they have discussion, Ange will have to pitch for why he should stay to a point. And what would you want to hear from him that would convince you? Because for me, if he said, I think the inverted fullbacks, we've taken it a bit too far and I'd like to be with 2 holding midfielders, that would probably be enough for me to think that's worth another go.
My concern, and I'm probably going to get pelters and we're going to get called, all right, negative pod, you've just won the Europa League. But we've got to have these discussions. Michelle Lawrence, we can't string 2 passes together. Something which Gary Diamond on holiday in Cyprus has agreed with. I can't forget. And when you break down the Europa League, please take, I am so pleased and proud and all of those things. We've won the Europa League. I just can't forget. I can't even forget the Europa League. Rangers away, terrible. RZ away, terrible. We did debate. The easiest thing in football for me is to be Ange Wall. That's the basic. You just stand there, you're not scoring. And the players, they wanted to win this Europa League, and everyone got together and realised this is the way to win it. Fucking amazing, brilliant. They did it. Let's be real. It's not the toughest Europa League you're ever going to win. We didn't have the toughest route. They went and they did it, and we've lost to worse teams in fucking Pacos Ferreira. We've gone out to crap before. Dinamo Zagreb.
Yeah,
amazing.
I love
amazing.
this. I love it when you run through them because it just makes me laugh every time. Who else? Who are the other ones?
else?
Ghent was the one.
Ghent.
Because that 2016-17 team should
Was
have
good.
romped.
Yeah.
Zagreb with the manager in jail.
Yeah, like all those things have happened. This guy has
Ferreira.
got this guy and this squad. Whoever you want to give the credit to, they've got between them. They've gone and done it. I just can't get over. Not just the 22 league defeats. There are more. There are 26, 27, 28 defeats in this season. I can't. You can't. I don't think you can just get over it and give them the job based on Europa League vibes, and that's my
I get it.
that's my concern.
And I have to point out, if he got sacked, if we got a notification right now saying he was gone, I wouldn't be like upset, but I've just found myself being able to see the other side of it more than I thought I would be.
You'd
at
want
this
to know
stage.
who they sacked him for, because if you
Yes.
bring him in for Silva
And this
or
is-
Frank, you might be
100%.
like, "Oh, really?"
Well, and this is what they did, I always say, cleverly with Poch. He got fired, and the next day they've announced Mourinho.
Yeah,
so then
it was
you
lined
go, okay. But if you don't, it all depends who you're going to bring in instead, and that's how you get over it. As you said, if he goes and they go Inzaghi and it's the next day, then you go, okay,
No one's
fine,
gonna complain about
absolutely. If he goes and there's no announcement for 4 weeks, then you're like, well, what was the point?
Yeah, I agree. And when people say, when you look back in 10 years' time, you won't remember where you finished. Actually, I think I will remember where you finished. And I'll certainly remember it if we start again. I think Jake Sanders in our comments said, the worry is we start the season again. But forget Brighton. I don't want to talk about it as a game. But we lost 4-1 to Brighton, who had no strikers. Yeah, the players were pissed, whatever. It's kind of irrelevant. But it's not the only time we've played like that.
The players were pissed is such a great line. It's about professional football. Yeah, the players are pissed. It's just great.
No, Paul, but I will remember where we finished because it's such a mad season.
The only thing is, and I know it's really easy to, but I also don't think you can give much credit or credence to the last 4 months, 3 months, because of the amount of the team he's been putting out in these Premier League games. When was the last time we didn't lose in the Premier League? Or it's like one non-defeat in about
Southampton.
We beat Southampton. So the last time we didn't lose in the Premier League.
Yeah,
we beat Southampton, and before that it was Ipswich. We won 4 games this calendar year.
Yeah.
So we drew with Bournemouth.
We drew with Bournemouth
2-2.
Yeah.
Right. I would. Oh yeah, that one.
We drew at West Ham.
I would say
We drew at West Ham.
In all of these games since AZ basically Ange, I would say I don't think Fulham away was the one after that. I just don't think you can compare it or say if we start next season like that. If everyone's fit, the back five, we can pick the back five for the start of next season as long as Romero stays, and if he doesn't, we know that Danso will play.
He's no replacement for me.
But it's not going to. The back five is not going to be. You know what the back five is going to be.
Yeah.
And we can all argue the toss about the rest of it. It's going to be our strongest team. We weren't playing anywhere near our strongest team in the last 3 months in the Premier League, rightly or wrongly. But that's the fact.
I agree.
So I don't think how we start next season. I don't think you should put any connection to how we finished the league season.
Is he under pressure to start well?
Yes.
Because of finishing
100%.
100%. Because I think one of the biggest questions for me is how accepting were the club with the policy of we're sacking the league off. If everyone at the club was aligned and said, do you know what, we've got to win a trophy this year, that's fine, we're going to allow you to do that. Because it's cost the club 30 million quid in prize money for league positions, which is not insignificant. If everyone at the club said, that's fine, you can do that, then there's probably less pressure on next year because he's done what he said, he delivered on what he said he would do to the club. If there were some dissenting voices in the club that said, well, you don't need to do that, we've got plenty of players, you should be able to do both, but he's done it anyway, then that would ramp the pressure up significantly for the start of the season, I think.
Yeah. I think if he had done that, I think we would have heard more rumblings in the press about how much he's pissed off the hierarchy. And I think they were all on board with it. Or maybe not quite, sack the league off, but, just win us the trophy. And he was he may well have had meetings saying, I've got this, I've got this.
Yeah, he must have mentioned it.
And as we said, he's then delivered on what he said he would do. So
regards Daniel Coys, which is also a great name, says, perfect time to use the stat about when our back five were available. We've got great results. Yeah, I can't remember the numbers despite the fact it's my day job.
It's good.
It's good when the back five play together. Whether Romero stays or not, we don't know.
I remember saying
football
this.
Isn't that perfect? You're going to get him every week.
That's true. That's true. I remember saying this at the end of the Mason second time around before Ange came in, and stupid people were saying we're going to get relegated. And I said, it is impossible to think that next season will be worse. We have to be better because we just will. We will sign players over the summer, and it turned out that Ange came in, whatever, and we finished fifth. We will not be this bad in the Premier League next season. It's just impossible.
I agree with you.
It's impossible. Not least because we will have our best team out, certainly at the beginning of the season, the best possible team. We will strengthen in the summer. If you don't think we will, come on. Of course we're going to. They're not stupid. We're going to sign players. We're going to improve. Certainly in the first, until Europe starts. I think when Europe starts, I think there's a problem. I can't get away from that because I don't trust maybe the way we play, unless he goes into the Champions League with the Europa League
I think
plan.
he goes Ange Wool in the Champions League.
Ange Wool. But I just don't know if the squad, unless they really make some additions, I don't know how the squad can stand up to that many games again. I think that's a problem.
It's a fascinating discussion, and someone's made the point. Stephen Bruton is lively in our chat this week. Can I just say, if you are in our chat, please like the show, even if you don't like it. I think
just give us a like even if you don't like it.
Particularly if you don't like it, just leave a like, and then if you want to shut the door on us, that's fine. But just do like us because that helps out. What I will also say on liking and subscribing and all that sort of stuff.
Big news.
We have got an amazing giveaway that we're going to give away at the start of the season. The first weekend of the season, we are giving away some signed Mickey van der Ven merch from the Europa League final.
Oh.
But you have to be an Echo of Glory member, not a subscriber, and you have to be an Echo of Glory member all the way up to that point. You cannot win this prize if you are not an Echo of Glory member. So do that.
And how do you do that, Johnny?
How do you do that? I don't know, Jake. How do you do that?
You go onto the YouTube page, but you have to do it
on a laptop,
or laptop or desktop. You can't do it on the phone. So just get on your computer or your tablet. No, not your tablet. Get on your computer and go on the Echo of Glory YouTube page. And there is a button there where you can become a member. And then you will be entered automatically into this prize draw.
Genuinely a great prize. I'm not just doing that to take your money.
No, it is an amazing prize. What is it? Sorry, just explain what it is.
I can't remember. James is still sorting out exactly what it is, but it's Mickey van der Ven related. Stephen Bruton, when do we need to sign up by? Just do it now, mate.
No time like the present for
There's
something
no
like this.
time like the present. Get signed up.
Sign up twice. Being twice.
Yeah, like seriously.
No,
but
that's
sign up with loads of different Gmail accounts. You can sign up. Stephen Bruton 1, Stephen Bruton 2. He's got a chance.
Oh, use your work email. Use your mum's email.
We're just going to stick it into a prize draw. Ben Alprin, very much a friend of the show, friend of mine, go to Spurs with him. Finally, the explanation on how to become a member. Ben has been bugging me to explain this properly for 2 years.
Yes, Ben, I keep telling him that he should do it at the top of every show. Also, go and find the website, anechoofglory.com, and you can buy things like this. We said it at the top.
One of these.
Look at it on the back.
One of these. Our new, what did we call it? Legacy logo.
Legacy logo. And then you've got Gary's glass tankards.
I thought you were going to say you got an evening with Gary Diamond.
Oh, that'd be nice.
You can buy that, an Echo of Glory.
Get enough members, that will happen.
All right, little segue. You mentioned how we're going to get on in the Champions League. I thought you were going to say you don't trust the board to buy the right players, but you didn't. But I want to talk about what we need to do. We've had Romero come out today, and he was nowhere to be seen on Sunday, which is like very Romero. I feel like with Romero, he'd play 18 games if he could, like all the big league games and just the Champions League. But he was incredible on Wednesday night. As a view from the lane said, he was sort of on the edge of chaos, but also serene at the same time. Absolute big game player.
His legacy changed the most for me on Wednesday night, I think.
Yeah.
I think he went into it. Everyone sort of liked Romero, but was a bit begrudging about the whole Argentina thing. And does he really care? But he was just imperious. And he put himself on the level of a Vertonghen and Alderweireld from a legacy for me on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I agree. We really need him to stay. Not only because he's an amazing player, but he's just a winner. And it seems like he has the respect of the dressing room, and he has a good relationship with Ange, and he's come out a couple of times. Well, earlier this season, he had a tweet or something on his Insta talking about his respect for Ange. What do we need to do in the summer, player-wise?
We need 3 starting players, I think, or players that, if they started a Champions League game, you'd be fine with. So probably left centre-half that can maybe also play left-back. Central midfielder, and probably a wing forward would be the 3 I would look at. I mean, if you're asking me for specific names, someone like Mbuemo, Eze, and I don't know, Mickey van der Ven's regen. Something like that would be the 3 that, plus we need to pad out a couple of positions.
Jake?
I agree with you, apart from, I would say, instead of a centre-back, we need another right-back. Or left back, depending on which way
Spence plays.
But you need 4. I always say this, especially when
you're 2 and 2
Europe.
right backs, 2 left.
You need 2 and 2.
Poch always had that.
Poch had it, and it was a massive benefit. How many games, look back, did Trippier and Davies play in the Champions League when we were in the Champions League under Poch? Because he could swap.
Trippier certainly played a few. I don't know about Davies.
He could swap Walker and Rose. I think it was I think that's where we need, and I think we need another right-sided forward, because we've got, for better or worse, we've got Son, Is Tell staying? It looks.
Would you keep him?
But we've got Odebear. If Richarlison stays, we definitely don't need another left-sided player. We need a right-sided player. And
We need more quality though on the left, really.
I
We've got
agree
names.
with that,
We've got
but
names
if
that
we're
wear
gonna,
shirts,
but there's no room. You're not going to have a squad where we're not going to sign another left-sided player if Richarlison stays, if Tell stays, and we have Son and Odebear. You're not going to then sign. So it depends how they go. But I think that's
I wouldn't keep Tell. I've got
that.
to tell
Yeah,
you.
that's another conversation.
He'd be one that I try and do a loan with an obligation or something like
Yeah.
that.
Another loan, yeah.
Yeah, I think we could. I think he deserves another crack. I'd be surprised if we sign him.
Would you keep Richarlison?
I would 100% keep Richarlison.
No.
What money are you going to get for him?
Well, I think the Saudi, if he would go, would spend a few quid. I really like Solanke, right? I really, really like him. But I'm looking at Solanke going, do we actually need to upgrade you? Okay, the chances are we probably won't upgrade you, but I think we could buy a better backup. Oh, Stephen Bruton has worked out how to do it, and he's in. But if you want to do it with a load of different accounts, Stephen, no, joking. Joking. Stephen, we really appreciate it, becoming a member. He's in for the draw, and sign up. Everyone be more like Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, like the book value conversation is so boring, but Richarlison only has about 20 million left of value for what the club, the length of his contract on. So if you for example, if you sold him and got Liam Delap for a 10 million net, that'd be a great way to spend money. But it doesn't seem that that's they're interested in for some reason.
I also backup strikers. I mean, they're so difficult to find. Somebody who's going to come knowing that their backup striker. He sees Dom Solanke as his number one. If Solanke could play 60 games, he would pick him.
It's an easier sell when you're in Europe.
It is an easier sell,
Not just
and
in the
there's more
Champions
games.
League, more games.
I agree. But what is it saying to Solanke? And I know he's not a Harry Kane, but no number 9, who is your main man, wants to sort of be given the impression that there's somebody that he's going to be rotated for half the season.
I don't think any centre forward expects to play 56 games in a season. I mean, Salah does it, in fairness to him, but...
Okay, in which case... Because also I always say this, having your second number 9 is such a hard thing to be able to do, to come in. If you're a youngster, you want games. If you're someone coming from abroad, 10 minutes here and there, and then, go and score us a goal in the Champions League is difficult.
Yeah.
So who's out there? What kind of players are we talking are out there? Anybody that comes to the club wants to play because no one wants to sit on the bench. That backup striker is such a hard position to be able to fill. And we've seen players come and die at Tottenham over the years who have been probably perfectly good strikers in their own right.
I think it needs to be a young player like Delap who would be happy to sit there for a little bit longer and wait for his chance.
There's him, but that backup striker is going to cost you 50-60 million if it's him.
But if Solanke gets injured, then that's cheaper twice the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
if he did a knee for God's
Liam Delap is, I mean, sure. I mean, who wouldn't take Liam Delap?
Everyone, unfortunately.
Well, exactly. That's part of the problem.
Can I ask you about the goalkeeper?
Big Vic.
I've got friends who think we should get rid. I don't think we are going to get rid, but are you comfortable with him? I mean, that mistake he made on Wednesday night, he made a couple of good saves. Big saves. I mean, saves that you'd expect him to make, really. The Shaw one was such a massive save and he did really well to push it out almost to the edge of the box, but most goalkeepers would have saved that. But what a time to pull off that save. That error, if Van der Ven's not standing there, if Van der Ven doesn't have if it's someone else who might not be as acrobatic and gets it wrong, it's 1-1 and who knows what would happen. Comfortable? I mean, I don't think we are going to upgrade him, but are you comfortable with him?
My first thing for that is that how many goalkeepers do you look at in modern football and think they're definitely great? I think goalkeeping in general, with the focus on playing the ball out the back and being the 11th outfielder, the standard of sort of the shot stopper, box controller has probably regressed quite a lot from when we were growing up and there were 8 or 9 great keepers in the league. And I also think that Vicario's got a number of intangibles as a leader and as a bloke that for the odd mistake that he does make, and let's be honest, he makes mistakes. I think I'm okay with that. Having gone through a decade of Lloris, who drove me mad because not only were there big game clangers, they didn't appear outwardly to be the sort of I want to be the guy on field leadership. I think Vicario is happy to take that mantle, and he is a bit of a madman. And I think he led the team really well on Wednesday night from the back. So I'm okay. Look, if someone says you could get this unicorn goalkeeper, then I would change Vicario. But for what I think we need, what we've got, I'm not going to quibble over having him as number one next season at all.
I think we've got bigger fish to fry. We
Yeah.
don't need a new goalie. We need more flair in the wings. We need a more of a six, another six, and we need another fullback more than we need a new goalie.
All right. I want to ask who your player of the season is, which may have all completely changed based on Wednesday night. I mean, just interested to know who your player of the season would have been maybe if we'd lost, maybe none of them. Because there was that joke going around, everyone was going to vote for Alfie Whiteman to be player of the season. Did Bergvall sweep the board on that?
Yeah, but they didn't announce it on Sunday. There was no presentation that I could see.
No. So, Jake Robson.
I'm glad
And
you
people
did.
tell us in the comments as well who your player of the season is. Jake Robson.
It's a tricky one because I think overall, just because of the number of games, I think would probably. I would have liked to have given it to someone like Bergvall. How many games did Bergvall play in the end? I'm just having a look.
I don't know. I'm waiting for your answer.
I think overall, a player of the season has to be looking at across the whole season. I think Kulusevski. I think when he played, especially in those dark winter months, he didn't spend much of that time injured. He perhaps didn't get the goal returns that you would have liked. He scored, I think, 7 league goals in 27 games. But I just think his energy and his leadership in a time when most of the rest of the first team were injured, he was coming out, the amount of interviews he would do after games, fronting up, saying, we're not good enough. I think he really kind of showed up for most of the season when others were injured. So, yeah, give it to him. Shame he couldn't be in the final.
Yeah, I mean, Kulusevski is a good shout given that the league season effectively ended after that Ipswich game and he put the seal on it with that fourth goal that sort of came at the end of a really nice run for him.
Yeah.
I'm going to discount the league season because if everyone else at the club can do, then I'm going to as well for this. And I thought Udogie's performances in the knockout stages of Europe were absolutely remarkable.
Yes.
Both games against Frankfurt, both games against Bodo, second half of the final. I just thought he was incredible, and he's such a unique player with his running power and defending. The final ball could improve on, although maybe if Solanke controls the ball in the final, then we've got an assist to add to it. I don't necessarily think that Udogie was my player of the season, but just to add to a conversation, so it's not just Kulusevski, Porro, Maddison, just to give another name.
Yeah.
Udogie's performances in the back end of Europe was something I'll remember that for a long time. I thought he was magnificent.
I agree with all you've said. I like Porro. You know, he played barely injured.
So, yeah,
what an absolute stalwart. Mr. Consistent. I'm going to be a little bit controversial, and I'm going to give it to Dominic Solanke because
You've just said we can upgrade him.
Well, yes. Well, I think we could. Look, if you sign a Gyökeres or I think he's class. I think he's really, really
Or
class.
Benjamin Sesko.
No, I don't think Sesko's better than Solanke. I just think this is a difficult. He's come in the first centre forward we've signed since Kane has gone. He scored 16 goals in all competitions. It probably would have been 20 if he hadn't been injured. And I think for a lot of this season, it's not been an easy team to play. And we go on about Ange, but even then, that was all like for Johnson and Son tap-ins. And maybe he could be more ruthless in the box, all those things. But he works his socks off. Hasn't complained. Why would he have to complain? I just feel he's given everything.
2 clutch penalties.
Big penalties in big games. Frankfurt, Bodo, that was a massive penalty. The one against Brighton, massive penalty.
He's not missed many chances,
No,
really.
he hasn't.
No,
And
I agree with that. And this is what I say to
Fulham was the
people.
only game where I left thinking I would have wanted more from Solanke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
anyone
remember
that says, across the season he could have done more, it's like, well, he's not there missing chance. He's not like Nicholas Jackson that misses all these chances.
Yeah.
When he gets the chance, more often than
I
not.
just think 20 goals, which I would give him for his average based on the games that he played, I think he would have got to 20. I'm going to give it to him. Strikers Union. from one
Goal hangers union.
from one striker to another. All right, we're going to leave it there. We have got another show which will be out next week. It's not going to be live, so I want to thank everyone who's been in our comments through the season. We've laughed, we've cried, we've shouted at each other, we've hated each other, we've fallen back in love with each other. This is what this football club does.
You mean Gary shouted at them?
Yeah, Gary shouted at people. Gary's not actually in Cyprus. He's been banned. He's
on the naughty step.
He's shouting at
Serving
everyone.
a club suspension after the laughing gas incident.
He's shouting at everyone in the comments today. But we've got another show
Club
next week.
sandwich, more like.
We're going to do the report card show, just to give our view on the players and the manager throughout the season. Thank you to everyone who's been on. Jake, Adam, Gary, Jake Sanders, Ollie Spiro, David Sims came on last week. Ali from Opta, who we haven't seen for a while, would love to get him on more. The guests we've had, I reckon we've been very fortunate. We could probably build a Premier League 1 to 11 from goalkeeper to centre forward of the players we've been fortunate to have on this show this season. We're not going to be on during the summer. Like I said, we've got one more show which will go out next week, which is our overview of the season in terms of players. We're not going to be on during the summer. If Ange gets the sack, we might come in and do an emergency pod. And if we sign a few players, we might do a little bit, but it's not going to be regular content.
We're taking a break.
And I want to thank everyone who's been involved, especially James at Launchport Studios, all the team here. We always win something in our second season on Launchport Studios. I think this is our second season. Yeah, it was our second
full season.
Second full season. We started the back end of Conte. Listen,
I think Conte was gone by the time we started, wasn't he?
We played Palace at home. I think he had just gone. I think that was our first game. Anyway, like, subscribe, become a member like Stephen Bruton. Everyone be more Stephen. Then you can get a chance to win that amazing Mickey van der Ven, what am I talking about? Prize, yeah. We'll do that at the start of next season. Jake, Adam, thank you for your time today. We will be back, and we will something. Third season, what did he say? Third season's always better. I don't know if Ange is right, but it'll be right when it comes to an echo of glory. We will see you next season. And of course, up the Spurs.